It's that time of year again. No, I don't mean when the oceans become a hive of hurricane torment. I'm talking about Halloween. Thanks for joining me. I'm Captain Japan, and this is my review of Halloween Horror Nights 2018. Now, for those of you not in the know, Halloween Horror Nights is an annual event held at Universal Studios around, what else? Halloween. It's when the park gets all spooky. They dim the lights, keep it open late, fill it with scare zones, creepy stuff, and of course, the haunted houses. And it's great. If you are like me and you love Halloween and theme parks, this is just the best. The best of both worlds. I started going to Halloween Horror Nights a few years ago. I wish I had gone even sooner, but I could never really find a group of friends to go with me. When I finally did, I loved every minute of it, and ever since then, I have been going every single year, multiple times, and I've been wanting to do a review just as long. So, how does 2018 stack up? If I can say one thing about Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights, it's very popular. It can be very, very hard, almost impossible to hit every single house in one night. So do yourself a favor and go multiple nights like I did. If you can't though, if you can only go one night, get the Express Pass. It's expensive, but you will regret not being able to at least get on half of the houses. Trust me on this. Get the pass if you can't go more than once. And that's why I feel Universal is missing an opportunity here. Not everyone can hit every single house. And those queues are as boring as possible. They're all lines set in back lots and parking areas which were never really meant to have people standing in them. Which is why I wish Universal would do more with the parks as well. Since not everyone can do every single house, having a nice Halloween experience within Universal Studios is, in my opinion, a must. And this year was just very lackluster. There wasn't much in terms of decorations, and the lighting just felt kind of cheap. There were the scare zones, but even those weren't that great this year. Well, except for one, but I'll get to that in just a second. I just think that Universal can do a lot more. One thing I loved during a certain year was they had The Walking Dead sprinkled throughout Halloween Horror Nights. You'd come across a camper with a cool projection on it, letting you know that there were people inside surviving from zombies. Or you'd come across a campsite where there was like people being eaten inside of the tents, or a fenced off area with zombies in it. It was great. It made the whole park feel alive, like you were a part of a big Halloween celebration. Bring this type of effort back. The scare zones may have been lackluster, but one was not. Killer clowns from outer space. This was a great area. The theming was amazing, the lighting was great, and oh my god, the costumes were fantastic. They looked like they were straight from the movie. But it kills me where they put it. It's off on the side of New York where you just barely ever walk anyways. Why wasn't this put in front of Krustyland? It would have written itself! Universal, how did you make such a big mistake like that? This is gonna be a house. There is no way Universal's not gonna make these amazing costumes and not use this in a haunted house some year. Mark my words. And speaking of houses, if I can give Universal any excuse for why I felt that the park itself was a bit lacking in effort, it's because all that effort was put into, by far, the best haunted houses they have ever done. Oh, and they didn't have Bill and Ted this year. They had something called Academy of Villains Cyberpunk. I didn't go because I didn't like last year's. Don't you just love Halloween? I do. And if there's one thing I love about Halloween, it's the very presence of Halloween, the theming of Halloween. Jack-o'-lanterns, ghosts, kids trick-or-treating, people throwing parties. It's just an event that I've always enjoyed ever since I was a kid. And Trick or Treat is a movie I have not seen, but I definitely mean to. Last year they had a Trick or Treat scare zone, and it was fantastic. Jack-o'-lanterns in the trees, orange lights on all over the bushes, and just this feel of a neighborhood you don't really want to be trick-or-treating in. And I guess that carries over really well into the house itself, because the house is just a big love letter to Halloween itself. Again, I don't know the story, but from what I can tell, it's just a night of trick-or-treating gone bad. And it's got this wonderful feeling of a neighborhood. There's actually a few houses clumped together in the very opening. You actually feel like you're outside, and it was really well done. Traveling through the house, you go into another one, you're just traveling through people's neighborhoods and stuff, and you see gore, you see blood, you see people getting killed. From what I can tell, it's just a bunch of trick-or-treaters killing a bunch of folks. Don't know what pissed these kids off, but they're killing a lot of folks. So yeah, if you have the time and you just love Halloween, you will enjoy this house. It is one big love letter to our favorite holiday. Seeds of Extinction. This was a pretty fun house to walk through. I really liked the story because humanity is extinct. Yeah, a meteorite hit the Earth, causing an overgrowth of mutant plant life, and I guess making the Earth uninhabitable for humans. Pretty fast too, like 5 days. There's a projector on the outside of the house that gives you a little backstory. Yeah, 5 days and all of humanity's gone. But it makes for a great haunted house. The entire house is just a series of businesses and locales with a lot of overgrowth from plant life. And it works really well because the scare actors are also plant life. So a lot of the jump scares will be right in front of you without realizing it. Hands will jump out. Plant life will just move on its own. It's very creepy, very scary. I really like this house. One of my favorites. Scary Tales Deadly Ever After. The Wicked Witch of the West has cursed the land of the fairies, twisting beloved stories beyond recognition. There are no fairy tale endings here. This is my favorite house. Yep, this was my favorite house. Maybe not the scariest, but of all 10 houses at Halloween Horror Nights, this was my favorite one. The house just did everything right for me. From the wonderful details of each room, the great costumes, the really creative jump scares, and a certain room that made me uncomfortable and freaked out. I will just say this, if you have arachnophobia, this will not be your favorite house. But for me, I loved it. Everything was fantastic. Just a phenomenally creepy, scary, gory travel through the classic fairy tales of old. Do yourself a favor and do not miss Scary Tales Deadly Ever After. Wow, what a shock this one was, Poltergeist! When it comes to these haunted houses, I've never really loved the licensed ones as much as the original concept. But this one was done really well. I didn't think they could turn Poltergeist into a good haunted house, but the creators did a fantastic job. The house itself starts with you entering underground. You can see the house above you as you moved through the, I guess you could say, crypt of upended tombstones and coffins. It's really great. Slowly you make your way into the house, and then you experience various scenes from the movie. All really well done and very creepy. There was one part where you're supposedly traveling through the afterlife, or whatever. It was a bit too long, and there wasn't really any scares there, and a little overuse of that creepy clown toy. But the house was still a beautiful love letter to the classic movie. Highly recommend it. The best licensed house this year. Carnival Graveyard, Rust in Pieces. I don't think I can give this house a fair review. I didn't see it at its best, or at least I don't think I did. I went on it around a half an hour before the park closed. The line was incredibly short, so it was practically walk-on. What I did see, however, was a very well-themed house based around the concept of a junkyard full of Carnival equipment. But like I said, I didn't really get the best experience because I think I saw 2 scare actors the whole time I walked through it. I will say the house was great, the theming was wonderful, and I really felt like I was outside even though I was inside this soundstage. If there is one thing I do have to complain about this house, is that it means Mega 64 was correct. Because strewn throughout this house were red buttons. Just a lot of different red buttons hidden throughout the house, but you could press them. I got sprayed in the face with water! Good job, Mega 64, you did it! You did it! You proved that all Universal Studios knows how to do is spray in the face with water! Good job! Stranger Things is another example of why I've always preferred the original houses at Halloween Horror Nights. And those work because the creators are telling a story or providing scares with the house in mind. They are given a blank slate. With the Stranger Things haunted house, it was a tour of the show. You pretty much walked from scene to scene. The house with the Christmas lights and the letters on the wall, the government facility, the upside down, to the high school. So no real surprises and no real scares. The costumes for the Demogorgon were really good though. I gotta give them props on that. But other than that, there weren't really any other scary moments. So hey, if you're a fan of the show, you'll enjoy walking through. But don't expect to be scared or experience anything really new. So fair warning, for the haunted house with the longest wait times at the park, you might be a little disappointed in the end.
Alright, Universal. What are you trying to do here? What are you trying to do? These are supposed to be scary houses, not hilarity houses. Ah!
Slaughter Cinema. I don't know if this was on purpose, but this was the funniest house by far I have been to at Halloween Horror Nights. I don't know what is going on, but they are just knocking it out of the park. Literally. The house itself is so good because it does what so many other houses should do. Entertain you on the way to it. Look, it is hot and it is boring waiting in those lines. But for this house, they did a great thing. It's a drive-in movie theater. You got a sweet little movie playing the whole time. And it is trailer after trailer of the goofiest 70s, 80s style horror movies you could think of. Just all these made-up films, like of a barber just killing people, a Critters reboot, I don't know what the hell was going on there, just Amazons from space killing people. Oh god, it was so stupid. I loved it. I loved it. It was so goddamn good. Oh, so you just get this great montage of these movies on the outside, and then you finally make your way into the movie theater. You pass the popcorn stand and boom, you're in the movies, baby. And it's great. All the movie trailers you just saw have become rooms of this haunted house. Each room a different one themed after the movie. And that's the thing, that was just fun. It was silly and dumb, but fun. This haunted house was the epitome of dark humor. I wasn't afraid, I was just having the time of my life. I highly recommend this haunted house. If you want to break from all the scary crap and just need something to enjoy with your friends, this is definitely the house that's worth your time. Now, I appreciate Blumhouse. I appreciate, a company just trying to make horror movies. But I don't understand the thinking behind this one. Because they've done Blumhouse houses before, and they've been fine. And this one they decided to do The First Purge and Happy Death Day. What a boring slog.
And there was a cool idea in there. There was a cool idea. Because the whole haunted house, you're going through the same bedroom over and over again a few times. I think we went through the same bedroom maybe 5 times, maybe 4 or 5 times. And that seems like something that could be very, very cool. You could play on that. You could do something surprising with that. But they didn't. I think only one time when I went through one of the bedrooms was there a murder scene. Every other freaking time I went through that bedroom, the girl was just sleeping in the bed. Guy popped out, I think, in one room, but I was like, what the fuck are we doing? Avoid this house. Because, yeah, when it turns into The Purge, it becomes a much better haunted house with some scary theming. But it is not worth your time. Avoid the Blumhouse haunted house.
More dire news from Europe. The French military announced an immediate end to all
Dead Exposure, Patient Zero, is the scariest house I have ever been to at Halloween Horror Nights. It is the very best example of less is more. It is dark, it is loud, and it is scary. All I'm gonna say is it is a zombie outbreak, but nothing like The Walking Dead. Going through this haunted house, I was alone most of the time because either the group in front of me was running through the house as fast as possible, or, and I'm not making this up, the group behind me couldn't move forward because 2 of the girls collapsed onto the floor screaming. Universal, make more of these houses. Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. It wasn't that good. Of course, there were many tricks and treats at this year's Halloween Horror Nights, but the scariest thing of all, riding Fast and the Furious.